So in case you weren't aware, Google is killing off the Nest Mini, which was previously called the Google Home Mini. This thing came out back in 2017. I was actually working at Best Buy when this thing came out, and you could actually see a shift when it came out from things like the Amazon Alexa, especially the Echo Dot, which was their cheap speaker, over to the Google Home Mini. This thing was Google's cheap speaker, and people tended to like the results they got from Google searching with their voice compared to whatever Amazon was trying to do with the Echo Dot. And considering the year prior, Google had already taken its initial steps into the smart speaker space with the original Google Home, yeah, it made sense that they wanted to continue to compete with companies like Amazon by releasing their own cheap speaker. And like back when Google dropped this thing for 50 bucks, the smart home craze was kind of starting to really get into its stride. And people were just picking these things up on a whim because 50 bucks and on sale even less was a pretty easy pickup for most people. They just picked one up on sale or whatever the case may be, and there you go. You are now part of the Google Home ecosystem, which eventually got turned into the Nest ecosystem. And even across the two generations that these things existed, Google pretty much just kept the formula the same. Make it small, make it cheap, make it easy for people to pick up, and the only big change that I think most people, myself included, noticed was, of course, the transition from the original Google Assistant to Gemini, but that was seen across pretty much every Google platform. Granted, it was nice that you could have that transition within a $50 device, even if it was the one that you bought back when they first launched in 2017. But now that Google's killing off the Nest Mini, this isn't just getting rid of the cheapest version of Google's smart home speaker, but it's also cutting off a lot of opportunity for people to get into Google's ecosystem cheap and then expand their purchases. Google is missing out on buying opportunities. Because I think of it this way, if you have maybe just a passive interest in a smart speaker, you're probably not thinking you're gonna spend a lot of money on these things because you're not super interested. So you're not gonna spend $100 on the HomePod Mini, especially because, well, smart assistant wise, Apple is very lacking. And when it comes to Amazon, you're thinking more package delivery, not smart speaker. You think Google searches, and you look, they have the cheap speaker down, or did. Now they don't, and you're probably not going to spend $100 on the Google speaker. You would rather spend $50 or on sale even less for the Home Mini. Sorry, I keep calling it the Home Mini, the Nest Mini. I remember when it was called the Home Mini because that's when I first got one. But yes, it is the Nest Mini. It was rebranded back in 2019. But anyway, now that Google's killed off the Mini, the budget option, your options are the speaker and the Nest Hub. And those two are probably not going to really scratch the same itch that a budget-focused customer is going to want to go for. And I'm sure the way a lot of people are looking at this now is for one speaker that Google currently sells, they could have bought two of these smaller speakers and maybe had one in the bedroom and one in the living room or one in the kitchen, but now they have one. And if they want to get another, they could have potentially bought 4 of the Minis. What it feels like to me, but I'm sure not just me, is that Google's not only killing off this little $50 speaker, but they're killing off customers' potential to get into the Google ecosystem at this lower level, this cheap level, and then buy multiples of these Google speakers to put throughout their homes. And then, when they want to expand their system even further, maybe go with other Nest options like thermostats, cameras, doorbells, all these things that Google makes. So now the entry point has gone up by $50. And I hate to say it, if somebody was looking at a more expensive option and looked away and went with a cheaper speaker, getting rid of that cheaper speaker and only offering the more expensive one isn't magically going to change that lower, more budget-focused customer's mind. But I think this also speaks to a bigger issue with Google's smart home setup, which is that it desperately needs to be updated, and if anything, maybe updated in a way that focuses more on stability and reliability. All you have to do is look at the comments of the Android Authority article I'm looking at to see people talking about how their whole house is a Google ecosystem, or how they have multiples of these little speakers, and yet each update has seemed to make them worse and worse. And that's not a track record you want to continue with unless you want the entire lineup of your smart speakers to just go away. That being said, Google does say that they will continue to provide support for these things as well as security updates. So the question then is, will these updates make these devices worse to use and potentially make users just move away from Google, if not move to other speakers? Or will these updates fix some of the issues that these users have, like the fact that the devices are feeling slow or buggy or just not responding? Time will tell on that one. And if you want a really good example that shows Google needs to update their smart home lineup, take a look at the web page for the Nest Hub Max. You scroll down a little bit, and one of the features they're showing is that you can use it as a camera indoors, so you can see people coming in using the camera on the Nest Hub Max. And they have a Google Pixel 3 as the demo phone for this picture. That is a phone from 2017. Anyway, the whole idea with the Nest Mini was that it was the gateway product. It was the gateway device to get people into the Google ecosystem so that they could buy more of these speakers, or maybe more Nest devices that Google also makes. It was a really good revenue stream, or at least it was a really good entry point for a bigger revenue stream for Google. And now they're killing it off and only leaving you with $100 options or more. I mean, I know people in my own life personally who have multiples of these, and no offense, I wouldn't call these friends super tech savvy, but they got these things and they put them everywhere because it's just convenient to ask a question when you're out in a garage, or ask for music when you're up in the bedroom, or ask for instructions or ingredients or recipes when you're in the kitchen. All of these things were super easy for them to set up, and combined, they have 6. I'm pretty sure it was 6, but I'm not going to be weird and go count my friend's Google speakers. The point is, if you have 6 of those speakers spread all throughout the house, office, kitchen, garage, bedroom, living room, all of that, if you want to do the same thing with the new Google speakers, those are $100. So for 6 minis, you're spending the same money for 3 of the Google speakers. The point is, what Google is doing is not just killing off a small speaker that wasn't probably making them a lot of money in the first place. What they're doing is killing off a budget-friendly gateway for the most amount of users to buy in, even on sale. Just buy it on a whim, set it up, put it somewhere in their house, and realize, hey, it's kind of nice to ask a question when I'm at home and get an answer whenever I want. And once they realize that, they can go, what else does this device do? Oh, it can control lights if I have the right lights, thermostats, cameras, I can do a doorbell, I can hook up all these things, I can get more speakers so that I can control them from anywhere in the house. And at that point then, that little hit or very little revenue that Google made on the tiny speaker has grown into a massive revenue source, because this customer who bought this budget speaker on a whim because they thought it was neat now has an entire Google ecosystem, both for data and for the revenue of the hardware itself. I don't know, maybe Google does have some bigger plan that we're just not privy to, but it doesn't really feel like it. It just feels, again, like they're playing a really dangerous game by killing off the Nest Mini. But let me know what you all think in the comments. Definitely make sure to like and subscribe so you can see more content like this. I've been Garrett with Android Authority, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Make sure to be there and have a good one.